first time I heard the number 57, it was coming from inside my own chest. Not my voice, my heartbeat. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, when I realized that the rhythm of my pulse had changed. It wasn't the steady lub-dub I'd felt for 56 years. It was a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I pressed my hand to my sternum. My heart was beating in numbers, and it was beating 57 times per minute, exactly. On the dot, I counted, 3 separate times, 57. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, listening to my own blood, waiting for the sun to rise. When it did, I went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. My reflection was there, but behind it, faint as a watermark on old paper, was another face. A little girl, brown hair, white dress. She was counting on her fingers. Her lips moved in silence. 51, 52, 53. She looked up at me. Her eyes were not my eyes. They were older, tired. And then she mouthed a word, not a number, a name. Arthur. My name is Arthur. I'm a retired lighthouse keeper. I spent 30 years alone on a rock in the Atlantic, watching the light spin, listening to the foghorn, counting the seconds between flashes. I know about isolation. I know about the things that creep into your mind when you're alone too long. But I've been retired for 7 years. I live in a small coastal town. I have neighbors. I have a cat. I am not alone. And yet, the girl in the mirror followed me. She appeared in windows, in the gloss of a freshly waxed floor, in the dark screen of my television when I turned it off at night. She was always counting, always watching, and always, just before she vanished, she would mouth my name, Arthur, Arthur, Arthur. I went to the library. I spent 3 days scrolling through old newspapers, searching for a missing girl, a drowning, an accident involving the number 57. I found her on the 4th day. Her name was Mary. She was 7 years old. In 1967, she wandered away for school field trip to the Lighthouse, the one I worked at. They found her shoe on the rocks below the tower. They never found her body. The article said she had been counting the steps from the lighthouse keeper's cottage to the edge of the cliff. 57 steps. She got to 56. Then she fell. I drove to the lighthouse. It had been decommissioned years ago, but the tower was still there. The cottage was still there. The cliff was still there. I parked my car and walked to the edge. The wind was cold. The waves were loud. I counted my steps from the cottage door to the cliff. 57. Exactly. I looked down. The rocks were jagged. The water was dark. And from somewhere below, carried on the wind, I heard a child's voice. 57, she said. You came. I climbed down. There was no path, no stairs. Just rocks and gull droppings and the smell of salt and rot. I climbed anyway, hand over hand, my boots slipping on the wet stone. I counted as I descended. 1, 2, 3. The wind howled. 4, 5, 6. The waves crashed. 7, 8, 9. I could see a ledge below, a narrow shelf of rock that jutted out over the water. On the ledge, a figure. Small, white, motionless. 10, 11, 12. I reached the ledge. The girl was sitting cross-legged on the stone, her back against the cliff, her face turned toward the sea. She was wearing a white dress, the same dress from the mirror. Her hair was brown, tangled, wet. Her bare feet were blue with cold. She was holding a piece of chalk and drawing on the rock. Numbers 57 over and over in a circle around her. She looked up when I landed. Her eyes were dark, empty. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just stared at me and said, "You're the lighthouse keeper. You were supposed to be watching. You were supposed to keep the light on so I could see the path. But the light was off. It was foggy. I couldn't see the edge. I counted 56 steps. I thought I had one more. I didn't. I wasn't the keeper then," I said. "I started in 1975, 8 years after you fell." She tilted her head. The light was still the same. The foghorn was still the same. You turned them on and off for 30 years. Every time you turned off the light, I felt it. Every time the foghorn fell silent, I heard the silence. You didn't push me, but you didn't save me either. What do you want me to do? Climb with me, count with me, and when we get to 57, you say it first. Then I can say it. Then the cliff will open and I can go home. Where's home? She pointed down. Through the rock, through the water, through the darkness below, I could see a light, faint, golden, pulsing like a heartbeat. The cottage. My mother's kitchen. She's been waiting for 57 years. She's old now. She's forgotten my face. But she remembers the counting. She counts with me every night. I looked at the light. I thought about my own mother, who died when I was 20. I thought about the lighthouse, the light I kept spinning, the foghorn I kept sounding. I thought about all the ships I guided to safety, and all the things I couldn't save. I took the girl's hand. It was cold. So cold, we climbed not down, up. We climbed the cliff face, hand over hand, the rocks sharp and wet. 1, 2, 3. The girl climbed beside me, her white dress billowing in the wind. 4, 5, 6. She was light, weightless almost, like climbing with a memory. 7, 8, 9. The wind died. The waves fell silent. The world became nothing but rock and sky, and the sound of our counting. 10. The walls of the cliff began to change. They were no longer stone. They were wood. The walls of a cottage. The walls of the lighthouse keeper's home. 13, 14, 15. The girl started to age. Her face lengthened. Her hands grew larger. 16, 17, 18. She was a teenager. Her white dress became a school uniform. 19, 20, 21. She was a young woman. Her brown hair fell loose. 22, 23, 24. She was my age. 57. Her face was lined, her eyes were tired, but her grip was firm. 25, 26, 27. We climbed faster. The light grew brighter. I could see the edge of the cliff, the cottage door, the warm glow of a kitchen window. 28, 29, 30. The girl was older than me now. Gray hair, wrinkles. Her breath was a whisper. 31, 32, 33. She started to cry, silent tears that left tracks on her weathered cheeks. I'm so tired, she whispered. I've been falling for so long. 34, 35, 36. I pulled her up. I lifted her. I carried her the way you'd carry a child or a grandmother or a regret you couldn't bury. 37, 38, 39. The rim was close. I could see grass. I could see the cottage. I could see a woman, old and gray, sitting at a kitchen table. 40, 41, 42. The woman stood up. She walked to the door. She opened it. Mary, she called. Mary, come home. Your cocoa is getting cold. 43, 44, 45. The girl in my arms was light again. She was a child again. Her white dress was bright. Her pigtails were neat. Her eyes were full of tears, but she was smiling. 46, 47, 48. I reached the edge. I lifted her onto the grass. She stood on the cliff top, blinking in the afternoon sun. The old woman ran to her. They embraced. They cried. They laughed. 49, 50, 51. The girl turned to look at me. Say it, she said. Say the last number, then I can stay. 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. I opened my mouth. The number was there on my tongue, in my throat, rising like a tide. 57, I said. The cliff didn't collapse. The cottage didn't fade. The woman and the girl walked inside. The door closed. The light in the window went out. I stood on the cliff top for a long time alone. The wind returned. The waves returned. The gulls circled overhead. I walked back to my car and drove home. That was a month ago. I'm 57. Now, I'll be 58 soon. I don't see the girl in mirrors anymore. I don't hear counting in my heartbeat, but sometimes late at night, I feel a presence, a warmth beside me in bed, a small hand in mine, and I know that Mary made it home. I know that she's free, but I also know that the lighthouse is still there, the cliff is still there, and every time the fog rolls in, I hear something on the wind. Not a scream, not a cry, a count starting over. 1, 2, 3. Another child, somewhere else, at the edge of another cliff, counting steps they'll never finish. Last night, I found a key on my nightstand. Brass, old, with a number stamped into the head. 58. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what door it opens. But I know that next year, on my 58th birthday, I'm going to find out. Because the counting never stops. It just changes numbers. And somewhere in a basement or a well or a frozen pond, another child is waiting. Another door is opening. Another number is rising in my throat like a foghorn. I'm 57 years old. I have maybe 30 good years left, and I'm going to spend every one of them climbing. Not because I'm brave, because I'm a lighthouse keeper. I know about guiding people home, and there are so many children lost in the fog. Tonight, I'm going to put the new key on my nightstand. I'm going to sleep with the lights on. And at 3:57 a.m., I'm going to listen. For a child's voice, for a whispered number, for the sound of a cliff opening in the dark. 1, 2, 3, I'm ready.